All right, let's bring in Tom Homan. I have this whole introduction written, but it doesn't matter. Let's bring Tom in. He's in charge of executing the president's border plan. It's good to see you. Happy Easter to you and the family.
Happy Easter.
So you're not a lawyer. I'm not asking you to be one. Help us understand why the administration is making the moves with either the Alien Enemies Act or how they're deciding to view the disposition of people that you find the way you are, as opposed to how it was done by previous administrations, because we didn't see all the legal dust-ups with previous administrations.
Well, look, first of all, you got to admit, within the first 7 weeks of this administration, we had the most secure border in the history of this nation. President Trump was able to achieve something Joe Biden couldn't or wouldn't do in 4 years. Today, as you and I talk, we have the most secure border in the history of this nation, based on real data. Now, as far as removals, President Trump has promised, and I've been out there, and you and I have talked about this before, we are prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats. And we're using every tool in the toolbox in a legal fashion to remove them from this country just as quick as we can. Because they're public safety threats, they're national security threats. They don't belong here. They need to go. And that's what we're doing.
What's wrong with doing it without the Alien and Enemies Act? I mean, you've been doing this job, you know, for a long time and doing it at a high level. You didn't have to do these types of legal maneuvers before. Why now?
Because we're going to use every tool in the toolbox. The Alien Enemies Act was an act created by Congress, enacted by Congress, signed by presidents in statute. And the president can use every tool he's got to use that. The president simply invoked the authorities he has through the Alien Enemies Act. Again, created by Congress, we're not making this up, to remove people as quick as you can. Chris, you got to understand, 10.5 million people came to the country illegally under Joe Biden. Millions were released in the United States. They knew exactly what they were doing. Overwhelm the system. So it's going to take 5, 7, maybe 9 years if you go through the appeal process to get a final order from the judge. And so while that all plays out, right, because they're hoping that, well, if we push it out 7, 9 years, maybe we'll have a Democratic administration, then they can award amnesty to millions of people. We are trying to take as quick action as we can, but the president's committed on public safety threats, national security. That's what we're doing. Now, I heard your monologue saying that, well, we're not getting the numbers that President Trump promised, but, you know, we're not there yet because we're doing the right thing. We got limited resources. So who do you go for first? You go to the ones who are dangerous to the public and to the nation. So that's a smart way to do things. But that aperture is going to open up. When we move beyond the criminals and national security threats, now we got hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens who had due process in front of an immigration judge, were ordered removed, and simply didn't leave. We got to execute those orders, get them out. If we don't, we send a message to the whole world: enter the country legally, even though it's a crime. Either show up in court, don't show up in court. But if you get an order removal, ignore it. We're not going to take action on it. You're never going to fix the border problem.
Tom, I'm with you. I also said in that monologue that this is a signature achievement. It's what people voted for, and it was delivered on, and in record fashion. So, you know, I'm not here to gratuitously want you guys to fail. That's just not the case. However, I would argue that you are sending the message you don't want to send, which is the law doesn't matter. If you're told that you have to be deported, you have to leave, just ignore it, because you're ignoring orders when you're told you can't deport this person, and then you're deporting them anyway. Now you have a second one that you got to bring back. Why ignore the orders? Go ahead.
No one's ignoring the order. The first MS-13, the Tren de Agua member, the Maryland father, he had ordered deportation. He was ordered, and I appreciate that, but he was ordered deported twice by 2 immigration judges. The same judges who distinguish him as an MS-13 member, the same as a police department TDA member. Police department says he's a TDA member. El Salvador says he's a TDA member. ICE intelligence says he's a TDA member. He has a TD member tattoo. He's involved in human trafficking. He assaulted his wife. He's a bad guy. And he was removed on the Alien Enemies Act because he's a member of TDA, recognized terrorist group, an enemy of this country, because you don't have to be at war to use the Alien Enemies Act. There's also predatory incursion, which they had. We know TDA is involved with the Maduro regime through the military and law enforcement. They're set here to unsettle the country. We did everything by the book. Now, there was an oversight. He had a withholding order. Withholding orders were issued years ago. But here's the facts of today. Withholding orders issued because they didn't want to move to El Salvador because he feared a gang in El Salvador. Things have changed since that. The gang he feared no longer exists in El Salvador. Number two, he is now a terrorist. He's an enemy of the nation. So the withholding order is set aside. And I'm not an attorney. DOJ is litigating this case.
It's set aside. It's set aside if you get it set aside. You didn't get it set aside. And look, again, this guy works great for you, Tom. I'm not pleading this guy's case. I think the Democrats are they're crazy to go down to El Salvador and make this guy a poster boy. You know, it's like George Floyd times 10 in terms of how stupid it is. I'm not arguing for him. I'm saying there's an order. You did not get it removed, and how you do things matter.
But the situation on the order has changed. The order is no longer justified.
I agree. I don't disagree with that.
I'm not an attorney.
I don't disagree with that.
I'm getting advised by. I'm getting advised by. The Department of Justice again. They're arguing this case. I'm not a litigator. I don't know all the nuances of judicial process, but we believe we did the right thing. And here's what people need to understand. Let's say he came back. He's going to be detained and deported the next day.
Yeah.
Because he has an outstanding order. So either he gets deported to El Salvador or he gets deported to another country. But we believe we did the right thing. We'll let DOJ argue it out in court and see where it lands.
Why doesn't the president go to the Congress that is currently in his favor, numbers-wise, and get new legislation on what due process requires for the people that you're removing? Why not have them pass a law that gives you a different expedient removal passage, so then it doesn't matter that you're fighting with judicial orders all the time. You change the law.
I have conversations with Congress almost every day. I hope Congress can make some changes. They need to make changes, right? Because what concerns me is every 4 years, a new president come along, issuing brand new executive orders to undo what the previous president did. I wish they'd settle this. Congress could fix three laws that would take 85% of the problem away from the border. So, Congress needs to fix it. Congress needs to also fund this.
What are the three laws?
People are arguing, well, you need to arrest more. The asylum law. When you come across the border, you make a claim to asylum. The threshold is very low on purpose because they didn't want to send someone back, be persecuted by the homeland. But it's too low. So the cartels, they'll teach them a few key phrases to say and claim, and they pass that first interview. But then they get to court, if they go to court, the threshold much, much higher. So this is a real number. 9 out of 10 people claim asylum at the border will pass that first interview, but being taught by the cartels what to say. When they get in court, 9 out of 10, 86.7, almost 9 out of 10, will end up with the order removal because they don't meet the threshold.
Yeah.
So, fix the threshold.
Yeah.
The second thing is the Flores settlement agreement. The second one is Flores settlement agreement. That all started with where if you're an unaccompanied child to come across the border, you got certain rights. But then the Ninth Circuit decided, Judge Dolly G, I gave affidavits in that lawsuit. Now she's saying, well, we're going to treat accompanied children the same as treat unaccompanied children. So under the Obama administration, when the families came across, there was a surge during the Obama administration. So we detained families in a family residential center, not cages. That came later. But
that's what it was called.
Were built under the Obama administration.
Right.
Yeah, but you know what, Chris? They really weren't cages. They're chain link fence dividers in these facilities to keep children away from unrelated adults.
I was there.
So they weren't cages. They're chain link. They're chain link dividers.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So they decided, well, we're going to treat accompanied kids the same. So what we did under the Obama administration, we detained them long enough to see a judge. Took about 40 days. 90% lost their case, like I said earlier. We put them on an airplane, sent them home. Family number tanked. Then the Ninth Circuit said, well, wait a minute. You can only hold them for 20 days. I wrote an affidavit saying, we can't get through the process quick enough to see a judge. If you do that and they get released before seeing a judge, you're going to see a family surge like you've never seen before. Of course, the other side said, Homan, you're a fear-monger, you have no evidence. But look what happened.
And that's what
Hundreds of thousands of families come across. So fix the Flores settlement agreement. If you're really escaping fear and persecution in your homeland, you shouldn't have a problem sitting in an open air family residential center for 40 days and have the judge hear your case. So that's number two. So you got the asylum fix, you got the Florida Southern Green. Finally, the TVPRA, Trafficking Victims Protection Act, had a great intention, right? We need to take care of children who are victim of trafficking. But the law says this: if you're a child from Mexico and you come across the border by yourself, and we ascertain through investigation that you're not a victim of trafficking, you're coming across to meet with a family member, whatever, you're not a victim of trafficking, you can be immediately moved to your homeland and back to your family. But if you're from, and that's for Mexico and Canada, but if you're from any other country in the world, we can't simply return you. You got this multi-year process. So fix the TVPRA, treat children all over the world the same way you treat children in Mexico. Those three things will fix 85% of illegal crossings on our southern border.
Now, you have told me this many, many times over the years. I just wanted to take the time for the audience for two reasons. One, this is who you are, by the way. Everybody just sees you as a hammer right now. You understand the system very well, and you've had your hands tied for a long time. And two, Congress is to blame, and they don't do diddly about this problem because they'd rather fight about the problem than fix it. So I don't blame you. Tom Homan, I appreciate you doing the job. Thank you for being here tonight.
And I'm not blaming one side at Congress either. We had the House and Senate the first 4 years of President Trump, and we got it again and again. We don't have no budget.
They're not doing it.
If people say we need more beds, we need more money to remove these public safety threats, national security threats, and we still don't have a budget. So Congress needs to do their job, and I hope they do. I hope they do it soon.
Tom Homan, appreciate you. Thank you for doing the work of the people. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.